What's up, everyone? Welcome back again to another episode of Live from Redhook here at the Function House. I'm Mike Gentile, along here with Anthony Vitale. And tonight we have a very special guest, DJ Mike Delgado. Welcome to the show.
Mr. Delgado, what's
Thanks
up?
for having me.
How you doing?
Pleasure. Doing good.
So who'd you vote for, Mike?
Bernie.
Yeah,
My
man.
man Bernie.
Wow. Very no Trump?
No Trump.
Why not?
Not a Trump fan. It's all a farce with that guy.
We're not going to get into politics,
Okay.
so don't worry.
What
Tonight is a very special show for us because you're the second house music DJ that we're actually going to have on the show. The first was John Nick. Actually, the third.
Right.
Yep.
The third. But you're going to be the first since Todd Terry, and that was almost 2 months ago.
Yep.
So we're really excited to have you here and have you play on the show.
Nice. I'm excited to be here. Very.
So how old were you when you first started DJing?
I wanted to be a DJ when I was like 13, bugging my mom for turntables, And then that's how it all began.
So
So-
13 years old. Not to, sorry, Aunt.
Yeah.
13 years old. Like, what did you first see that inspired you? That said, like, hey, I want to be that DJ.
All right. The first thing I saw was at a very young age, I was able to go into the Paradise Garage, and the vibe in there was like insane.
So
It
wait,
was-
how old were you when you?
I was like 15, 14. But I was already wanting to be a DJ, but I was DJing with like a crappy little turntable and then a black turntable that was so much louder than the other one. I made with what I had, but it was just strictly house little young DJ. But then as I was out, I was able to venture off. I did Paradise Garage that one time. I don't
Oh,
know.
you actually DJed?
No.
there?
I
Oh.
went there, and when I got in there, I was like mesmerized. I was
So
like,
Who was the DJ that was DJing when you went
Larry?
there? Oh,
Larry
it was Larry.
Levan, yeah. So I was
wait,
blown away.
we got to talk about that
Go
real
ahead.
quick because like you're the first person on the show that we could talk about Paradise Garage.
Okay.
So Larry was DJing when you went there.
What was the sound system like in that place?
It was incredible. That's probably what got me. Like, I never heard music like that. I was young, you go to a record store and you listen to, records on their systems, but I wasn't in clubs yet, and I was able to go. Through a friend, said, don't worry about it, no problem. And then when I walk in this place, I see floor-to-ceiling speakers. And, usually you would think it would be just a big rumble, but it was like the cleanest. It was like you were listening to it off a CD or something.
And what year was this?
Oh, man, I was 15.
Maybe about 86, 87?
No, more less than that. It was maybe 83, 82.
So what was what was like a song that stuck out in your head? Like being there that night, what was like the song that stuck out in your head?
There was a bunch of them. Runaway Love. He played so many different things. But all those old classics, that's what I grew up in. And when he played, he went from one place to the other. And if anybody who didn't understand what he was trying to do would say, you know what? What's he doing? But if you knew the music and you knew what his message was, you'd be like, he was brilliant. He wasn't the best, but
programmatically.
programming, he was by far.
So did you go there to listen to him, or you just
No, I
went
just
there
went
because
there.
you wanted to go to Paradise Garage?
I just went there. As a matter of fact, I went there and I got in. I was a kid, and I believe it was Run DMC were there, and they were dressed in the way they dressed with the hats and the leather,
Yeah.
and they weren't allowed in. They didn't let
Oh,
them
wow.
in. Yeah, so I remember that was like the beginning of it all, and then, I said, this is what I want to do. I want to make music. I want to DJ, and then it just snowballed after that. I just kept at it, and a couple of years after that, I met Todd at a young age.
So you and Todd share the same actual birthday,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
the
April
same
18th.
age?
Yep, April 18th, 1967.
So you guys had like a bond connection.
Yeah,
there.
we celebrated our birthdays for years. Like, we always hit each other up on our birthdays, because it's easy to remember. But for years, we always celebrated our birthdays together. And yeah, I met him at a young age. Like, he was just doing freestyle records when I met him, and I got into DJing, and I was the neighborhood DJ in Sunset Park, and we started doing, you know, like the weddings and the Sweet 16s and all that. And then we had, excuse me, enough of a following where we were like, you know what, let's get a little place and rent it out. We charge, I think we charged $3 at the door.
Where was the first party you did?
We used to do this, it was a store on 5th Avenue and like 53rd or 54th. It was a Tom McCann shoe store. And on top of that was like a little
social
hall
club.
I used to rent out. And I remember because I used to pack the place. Well, we used to pack the place, and we said this fucking place is gonna fall one day, because the floor used to shake. I mean, it was crazy.
What did you guys used to bring as a sound system?
We had different people that, you know. I had speakers. I had like gem sounds. It was nothing special, not like stuff that's out today. Then I had another buddy of mine that, you know, he always helped us out. He had a bunch of speakers. We always just put it together. We never really had something that we would just go with.
That's how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
Because I know growing up, like my brother was a DJ, so I remember when he used to do parties, like it was like everybody's pitching in, bringing
Right.
speakers,
Yeah.
Amplifiers.
Yep.
amplifiers.
You
Yeah,
had a
that's how it was.
turntable from there, turntable
Yep,
from there.
yep.
But that's the way, you know, that's the way we always got it done.
Plywood coffins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened was when we were starting off, it was more of the music, the DJing part of it, and you know, then everybody wanted to go to the next level. Todd was already there. Todd was already doing records, freestyle records, and he was, you know, he was a genius. You could just tell. I mean, what he did with an SB 1200 was, you know, was insane. So that he introduced me to that aspect of the game, production, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. So we hadn't met Kenny yet, and I'll be wrong if I didn't mention another guy that was with us. There's this guy, Franklin Martinez, and he was a Dominican kid that lived in Sunset, and we got into editing. I don't know if you the editing aspect of the game.
So you were editing like on reels?
Yeah,
Reels?
yeah, and I was obsessed with it. Like I bought myself a reel, and I stood home for months on end, just like editing. I wanted to master it. I listened to, you know, Latin Rascals, Albert Cabrera, Chet Nunez, rest in peace, Omar Santana, he's a monster in the editing game. But this guy Franklin, that was part of what we started, was insane. Like he was above his, you know, like he was way beyond his time. Like he was doing edits that he should have been getting hired by the majors to do edits on their records, and he just, you know, somebody that did it well, and then nobody knew
And it
about
was hard to splice tape.
It was not easy, man. It was not easy. You had to be on, you know, you had to be on point, and you had to come up with these ideas beforehand, and then introduce them in your cuts. It wasn't just you start cutting and you come up with something. You had
Like
to,
if you made a mistake, like you had to like
probably had to start
over.
again. Yeah. So he was. I mean, I wish I had some of that stuff that he did back in the days, and it was just incredible. So what we did was it was myself, Todd, and this guy Franklin Martinez.
So that was the original crew.
That was the original crew, and that was the original Masters at Work. That's why everybody's always talking about you guys are the original Masters at Work. And you know, for a time we were just young kids, and the reason why we called it Masters at Work is because we thought we had it all covered, and we at that point we did, because we had Franklin, who was great at editing. I was doing really good with the editing. I was the DJ. Todd was also the DJ, and Todd was the producer. So now we had this little camp that we could do everything, you know?
So whose decision was it to stop making dance music?
Um,
Because this guy was doing freestyle. Todd was doing freestyle.
Well,
you were working on edits.
right. I was editing freestyle as well. And then when the freestyle stuff was, you know, hot and heavy, that Chicago sound came in soon after. And then, you know, the rest is history. Like, I fell in love with that sound immediately. And, you know, the freestyle got pushed to the side, and the house music just became what it is today. But, I mean, that's how we started. And then soon after that, we started going to this local record store where we lived on 48th Street and 5th Avenue in Sunset Park. And Kenny worked there. And Kenny
Just selling records.
just selling records.
How
And
old was he?
Kenny, if I went there when I was 18, 19, Kenny had to be 15, 16.
So he wasn't even DJing yet. Was he DJing already?
He was DJing. He was just starting to DJ, but he wasn't.
He wasn't making records yet.
Nah, he was doing little parties, family parties. He was definitely not making records yet. So then, we became friends, and I introduced him to Todd, and then we all became masters at work. And then I was still doing the DJing thing, a lot, but then he just buried himself in doing the production thing. He got with Todd a lot, and they clicked really well. And then, Todd pretty much showed us this is how you make records. SB 1200, a board, and you could go to town and do what you got to do. So he's the one that introduced all of us. Kenny kept on with it. Kenny stood home for days on end just doing beats. And, the rest is history. But that's a big part of who I am, like those guys. I would have never done what I've done. Not that I've done a lot, but, I've had some good records that people still hit me up on. My first record was in '87. So, it's almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
So, and then people still comment on stuff, and that just does it for me. I don't need to have the fame and the whip in front of the house like that. It's just, if people remember little things you do, and you touch them somehow, that's what it's all about for me, man.
But you came up with pioneers, and you can be considered a pioneer because you were part of that crew. The little things that you did during that time contributed to, to a whole lot.
It humbles me. It always humbles me. I like to think that I put an honest effort into this music. I love this music till this day. It humbles me when people hit me up and still tell me, this record you did 10, 15 years ago still, it impacted my life. And I do get these texts and these emails and these messages, and it changed me. I was in a certain place at one time, and I used to go and I used to listen to this record, go to the club, I hear this record, and just, made things different for me. Little things like that, man. It's just, it makes a difference.
Where did you used to go, like record shopping, like Brooklyn, Manhattan, the spots that you used to hit up when you used to go record shopping?
Well, we used to go to, Kenny and I used to go all the time, and Todd, but we used to go to Downtown Records, which we became really good friends with, those guys, Harry, and rest in peace, Harry, and those guys. Those guys, eventually, we became really good friends with them, that they opened up a store in, I don't know if you guys remember, on 5th Avenue and 47th Street, a block away from where Kenny worked. They opened up a Downtown Records. But I used to go to the one in Manhattan when Tony Moran from the Latin Rascals used to work there.
I remember Downtown Records, yeah.
So I used to go there when I was a kid, and, any money that I had, and I didn't have much, but any money that I had
went to records.
Forget about eating, and if you're thirsty, drinking something.
What were you paying for a record back then, like $3.99?
Yeah, about $3.99, $4.99. Yep. But the hot records were the imports.
Yes.
So now you're paying
$12.99,
$8.99, $10.99. So you don't want to buy a domestic record.
They even felt different.
Yeah, and they sounded amazing. So, but that was. And then, you used to go there, and then Tony Moran would be like, he know me already, and he's like, hold on, I get you right now. And he'd stack, he'd go to the back and stack Apollo records like that for me to listen to. And 4 of them were no good. So I'd go out waste $250 on records. And I ain't got no more money for the week. But yeah, that's no regrets, though. I love that.
But there was something about that feeling of actually making the trip, going to the record store. There was always that good feeling. Like, I remember, jumping on a bus, taking a bus to, Music Factory and Kings Highway. And it was just that anticipation of getting on the bus and getting there and walking to that store and going in.
What am I going to find? What am I going to find? Yep.
So that was a great feeling.
Yep.
So you have a ton of records out.
Yeah, I got a bunch of things out.
What labels are they on? Which ones are working really good? Talk to us about the production end.
I've done, the last thing I did for LA-based label. It was just a remix. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but I'll get it to you guys. And that was the last thing I did, and that was a bit of a buzz. Everybody was playing it for a little while there. I did that maybe 2 years ago, and then I've been in the process of moving. I just set up my new room, so now I'm gonna hit it hard and heavy. But I'm always doing stuff. Like my computer, I could put out
Yeah, your
3-4 albums right now.
Your SoundCloud is stacked. I went through
Yeah,
that this week.
And that's nothing. That's like stuff I put up on SoundCloud like a couple of years back. Like
Yeah.
it's not even recent stuff.
And they're unfinished. They're like unfinished
Yeah,
projects.
some of them are finished. Some of them are, need to go back and get mixed, and some of them need vocals. But they're all over the place. But I have tons of that stuff. Like that's what I do, man.
Yeah. So that's what you're still DJing and you're going away this year. I know we spoke about.
Yeah, I'm doing England sometime in August. Italy, I'm going back to my favorite place in the world, Naples.
Pizza's crazy over there,
Yeah,
right?
food is ridiculous over there. In sometime in November, maybe early December. We haven't decided on a date yet, but I'm doing that. So, and then from here to there, whatever comes up.
That's good. Keep
So
them busy.
when you were coming up back in the day, you had taken a break from DJing, right?
Yeah, I took a break. What happened was we established this whole thing, and we're doing the DJing thing and starting to do the production thing, and then I had a son. I was 21 years old, and I had my son. So I was a young kid, and I always say the story that I didn't want to be the guy that was 50 years old DJing. So I went out and got a job, and wanted to do the right thing for my son. And it's ironic because there's nothing but 50-year-old DJs right now making a ton of money.
Of course.
Like all my boys are like still doing it wholeheartedly. They're like embedded. Like Kenny's still going. Not that Kenny's 50, but Louis still going. Todd's better than ever right now. And they're just and it's because they built something. It's not because anything's given to those guys. They built it. They built the brand, and they're living off of it. And you know what? God bless those guys.
It's the passion.
Yeah.
I mean, like we could tell when Todd was here, and he played. He had just gotten off a plane. He came from, I think, Europe or somewhere, from London maybe, and he played
France.
for us. And then after the show was over, he hung out here, and he played for like another hour.
Yeah.
Just with us here. We actually rolled some tape on it.
Did you?
I don't know if he knows that, but
That's cool.
and he just jammed.
Yeah.
For how long was it?
It was at least an hour.
Yeah.
And then what's funny is I check his Instagram the next day and he's in South Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
He's, you know what? He's the most humble guy. You'll never hear him tooting his own horn.
So then, what brought you back? So like you like made the decision. Obviously, you had your son. By the way, is he involved in any type of music?
No. Nah. I mean, like all these kids, he wanted to be a rapper for a while there. I try to get him to love house music, and he does. He actually likes it a lot better now than before. But not where he's actually trying to make beats or nothing like
but
that.
Mike, you left, but you didn't stop producing. You were always producing throughout that whole time that
yeah,
you were
but
DJing.
I was, but not to the extent where I was getting work and
Wanting to put
constantly
records out.
producing stuff and getting remixes. There was a time there where I was getting work from all over the place. I was really busy. I did stop. I'm not gonna lie. I stopped it completely because I had other things going on. I was young, and then I got back into it because it's funny because like my favorite DJ is the guy that really I looked at it and watched him play, and I was like, wow, this guy is the real deal. Was Louis Vega, right? So I got to watch him in clubs, going out with my boys.
Where was the first place that you actually saw him
Heartthrobs.
play?
I never saw him at the Devil's Nest in the Bronx, but I saw him at Heartthrobs, and blew me away. And then I saw him one time in Roseland. Not Roseland, I'm sorry, 1018s.
1018,
Roxy.
the old Roxy.
Yeah, and he was like, he was rocking 3 turntables, and this was vinyl back then, rocking 3 turntables at the same time. And, only if you were a DJ and you knew the music, you knew what he was doing. Everybody else was just dancing to the music, but I knew what he was doing. I mean, he had 3 things going at the same time, and it was vinyl, and it was like nothing. He wasn't even, so that I witnessed that, and it was good for me because I got to witness that, right? And I said, you know what? That's who I want to be like. Like I want to be, because he was a real dope DJ. So then when I got back into it, back into it because I was always friends with Todd and Kenny, my boys. We grew up together, we grew kids together. So they were always inviting me to places. Matter of fact, Kenny flew a couple of places to Europe a couple of times, and he took me with him. Like I went to Europe, and I witnessed it. I was like, this is crazy. Like, because I hadn't traveled when I was younger. When I got back into it, then I started going away. But he introduced me. He's like, you gotta do records again. You gotta start doing stuff. So I started doing records again, and I think when my first record back was in '93. I did this an EP signed in England with Release for Pleasure, and the name of it was Murder EP, and that took off. I still talk about it to this day. But that was my joint right there. That was the one that got me going.
So that was the one that people started calling for gigs, right?
Yeah.
That helped put you on the map.
Yeah, that's the one that did it. And I started traveling, I went all over Europe. I got myself a manager. This is a girl, Sabrina. She was really good to me. She, took care of everything. And her boyfriend, Tommy, I can't leave him out. And they were Italians, and they lived in Naples. But they came here with a game plan, and they brought a whole crew of people over here. They brought, obviously them two came, and they brought a graphics designer. They brought people with accounting experience, like 5 people. They rented an apartment, and they started their a booking agency.
Okay.
So I was one of their first DJs. And, after years passed, even Todd and Kenny got into with them, a little bit. They got them a couple of gigs. But, I traveled. I did a lot of traveling. I got to see a lot of the world. And
what was the favorite spot that you played
Naples.
out overseas?
Naples, by far. Because you know what? It reminds me of being in the hood. I don't, for anybody that goes to Naples, there's some poverty-stricken areas over there. So, but the people, are amazing. They're whatever. They could have 10 cents in their pocket, and if you need 5, they're giving you 5. That's the type of people they are. I used to do this little spot over there. They're going to kill me because I don't remember the name, but I used to do a little spot over there. And it was no bigger than this, maybe. Used to get jam-packed, and it was a bunch of friends, and just with the friends alone, they had 50 people, plus the people that came into the place. It's about 150 people. A nice little lounge. And those people, when I came in to play, they were there every single time. And then, not just that, I was going there for so many times that they started to invite me to their homes for dinner. So we were every time I came, we were having dinner at a different place, and it was always the same group of people. And those people treated me so...
So you must have put on a lot of weight.
Oh, man, yeah. I could show you pictures, man. It was like, oh, God, it's bad. But, yeah, Naples got to be the shit.
So you must be excited to go back.
Yeah.
How many years has it been since you've been there?
Wow. It's been since I traveled, probably about 14 years now. I haven't traveled in a while.
Does that place still exist out in Naples?
It does.
It does.
It does. It does still exist. And the owners, it's 2 owners. They just, they're on Facebook with me. They got me on Facebook. They just hit me up. And they were talking about the stuff we used to eat. They were hitting me up. I was like, oh, my God. It's like, so, yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and visiting them for sure.
So you're going to go back there and play?
I'd like to, yeah. I'd like to go back there and play. I'm sure if they know I'm in the area, they're going to definitely.
That would probably be special. And I'm sure like a lot of people that used to come out every week would probably
with
come
their
back
kids
for that
now and
party.
everything, they'd probably come back out. That'd be nice.
So people probably used to just jam and feel the music. Like
Yeah.
they were really into it.
They were, man. They were. They really loved the sound. Back then it was different. Back then, you go overseas and you play stuff that was unreleased. I used to take boxes of vinyl with me, and I used to take acetates. At that time, I was working for Louis and Kenny for Master. I edited their whole first album, and I was editing a lot of records for them in Bass Hit, their studio. And I used to literally sleep there. So I was connected to all the DJs that came to see Kenny and Louis. It was Benji Candelario. I got a throw his name out there because he's the one that signed the Murder EP in England for me, and he's my boy. He's been one of my biggest supporters throughout the years. Forget about it. I can't say enough about that guy. But, you know, all these guys, we would all like get together at Base Hit, and then everybody would share that's one thing about New York. There's it's just full of dope producers. Yeah. There's a lot of really good producers that came out of New York, even just this area.
Out of Brooklyn alone.
Out of Brooklyn is crazy. So, you got Kenny, Todd, Johnny, Nicky. You know, you got there's a lot of people that came out of this area that were, really talented. So when we would get together at the studio, if Nicky and Johnny did something, they bring a dad of it. And then Kenny, whatever he did, and Louis, I'd have. And then Benji came, he played in the room, I need a copy. So when I was going out, I was playing stuff that was not coming out for months at a time. So I used to go over there, like all the DJs that were doing it back then too. It wasn't just me, but that's when we traveled, we played stuff that was unreleased and probably wasn't gonna get played for months down the road. And people used to flock just to hear what we had coming. It's not so much like that anymore because now, you got the digital age and, everybody, a track comes out now.
Everybody's got it.
Everybody's got it right away. The game is different now. It's not the same.
It was always cool back then, as a young DJ coming up when I used to play in clubs and you'd open up for these bigger DJs for let's say a Hex Hector or Glenn Fisher at the time, and they would come with these promos and test presses and all this other stuff and be like, if only I can get my hands on those records,
Right. It's true. When I used to go listen to Louis, he played stuff that was unreleased all the time. Different mixes of even the freestyle stuff, stuff that I'd never heard. I was like, damn, if only I had that shit. But, and then I was fortunate enough to get into that circle, and I was introduced to, the good thing about it was I got to see Louis play from a distance, and then I got to see Louis make records up close because I was in the studio with them. I was editing a lot of their stuff. So, and I'm not putting it past what Kenny put into that whole arena because Kenny to me by far is the dopest beat maker, house beat maker that I've ever seen. He is incredible. What he could do with a drum machine is crazy.
Well, he makes it all, right? He does house music.
He does it all.
Hip hop records.
Reggae, you
He's
name
done
it.
everything.
Yeah, he does it all.
Yeah.
But as just drum wise, he's insane, and his mind is, borderline genius because he knows what he wants. You really don't know until you get him in the studio and you watch him, and and he's directing whatever, a vocalist, a keyboard player, his engineer. He knows what he wants, and that's half the battle. Some guys go in there and they're like, all right, play for me, see what we can come up with. That's not him, he's embedded. And so I got to see all that, and I got to see how these guys made records. And, Louis is more I do drums, I program drums, and I take pride in my drum programming, but I really like to musically get involved in all my projects. I'm not one of those guys that makes a beat and then he'll go and hire a keyboard player and then have him play on top of it. And yeah, he's gonna make your shit dope. But
so you taught yourself how to play keyboard?
Yeah, right? I taught what I know. Yeah, I taught myself. I think I went for lessons one time with this guy James Preston, who I made records with. He's a dope keyboard player, incredible. But I went one day for theory with him. We just talked about theory, and then I'm like, you know what? Theory's not gonna do it for me. It ain't gonna do it for me. I'm just gonna play by ear, and then
And there was no YouTube back in those days.
Nah. It was just
What program are you using to make music?
Wow, it depends what I'm working on. If I'm doing drums, I'm starting I start my drum programming with Machine. Machine is incredible. It's limitless what you can do with that thing. There's so many different directions you can go, from mixing to drum programming to the keyboards. It's crazy, Then I was always a Reason guy also, so I used Reason for a lot of years, and people thought that Reason was a kind of like a baby door, so to speak. Like it wasn't for doing, you should actually use one of the bigger doors like Logic or Pro Tools. But Reason, I did almost all my records on Reason. And then I use Ableton. I use Ableton now as well. So those three I pretty much flip. If I go and I open up any one of those three, there's like tons of tracks on every one of them. So that's what I use.
So what are you playing with when you play in the clubs now these days?
What do you mean,
In terms of,
equipment-wise?
Yes.
I play on the Pioneers.
In terms of like the program. Like
Tractor. I use Tractor. I've used the sticks before when I have to, but I use Tractor because it's so much easier to look at your library. You can go and you look at the crowd, you see what's up, and then you can go into a whole different folder and look for. I think with the stick, you can still do the same thing. It's just a lot of traveling in there. To look for what you want, and with Tractor, you type in, you think of a track like, oh shit, I want to play that right now. You type it in, boom, comes up. And it's not so easy with the sticks,
So before going to a gig, are you like planning out your sets? Like tonight, did you plan something out for what you're gonna play?
No, I kind of like I have a few folders that I work off of. I don't really plan it out. I mean, I usually play. I see the crowd, and then you go by that.
Do you
I don't-
incorporate most of your production into your set?
I do some. I'm gonna play some stuff tonight that I produced.
Some unreleased?
Definitely some
Nice.
unreleased. Yeah, I'm gonna play some stuff. But yeah, I definitely play my own stuff as well, of course.
Are there other, outside of like Kenny and Louie and Todd, are there other producers out there that you like to play their tracks when you're doing your set? Are there any particular guys?
Yeah, there's tons of there's a lot of guys.
Are there guys that you follow that like you're interested in their production?
Yeah, like
Sound.
Benji's still doing records. He just put a record out on Kenny's label. I still follow him. I'll play all his stuff. It's a lot different now. Like the guys that were around when I was, when we were young, they're not all doing records like that. David Morales still putting out dope shit. I always listen for his stuff. But there's a lot of young cats in the game now too. They're putting out dope records.
You know what's great about all the people you mentioned? Their sound has never changed.
No.
So like all the stuff that they put out, even the recent stuff, it's still that same
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah, it's a signature sound. Like I could tell when Kenny's doing something. I know by his drums. I could tell by Louis. Louis's more like musical, and David is got his own sound as well. Todd, everybody knows Todd's sound. So yeah, but the game has changed quite a bit. So yeah, as much you give those veterans all the respect in the world because they deserve it. But there's some young cats now that are doing some really really dope shit, and which is good because it's all about keeping this thing alive. Like keeping it going. We don't want to hit a brick wall. We don't want to just run out of good producers. We want the young guys to know. And the best thing about it is that stuff that I was doing back in the 90s, we all had a type of sound, and that sound became hot again. And
Yeah.
it's popping right now. So people are like, you got to do your thing again. You just got to start doing it again. So that kind of like is why I got back into it. And all these kids are doing that style of music. I'm like, shit, I used to do 2 or 3 of these a day back in the day, like these kids are actually, and so we get to reintroduce what we did before again. So now we have not just the guys that knew us, the people that knew us, but now we have another young little group of guys, DJs, fans that are coming up and want to hear the same thing. So it's a good time, man. It's a good time for what we're doing right now.
So tonight, I'm very excited because we've been doing this show for a little over 2 months now, and the last house music DJ that we had was Todd Terry.
Dope.
So we're excited to have you on the show tonight.
Good to be
We want
here.
to hear some house music,
Yep.
and we're going to change it up, and we're excited to have you play. So I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
We're going to throw you on the Pioneers.
Okay.
But it was a pleasure to sit down with you. And
Thanks for having
and
me,
have
man.
you
Yep,
here at the
thanks for
Function
being here,
House.
man.
This is great
And
what you guys are doing.
and hear your story because we think it's important for you to share it with everybody.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. This is what we need to keep it alive, man. Get all these good producers. You know, there's so many people that have so much to offer, and the fact that you guys are doing this is great.
Well, you're one of them. So
Thank
we're going to have you here. We're going to have you play. So we're going to get Mike Delgado on the Pioneers, and he's going to play some house music for us. So we'll be right back.